Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You can see today we've got this 2007 Mk4 Volkswagen Polo GTI. If you're a petrol head like me, you might have your prized cars tucked away over the winter. And actually we did a video a couple of years back looking at types of cars that you can buy. We actually looked at a W203 Mercedes to see my uncle through the winter. Now today, this car is doing the exact same purpose for Richard. He bought this car very recently. He's got his nice cars tucked away, and this is basically going to be his winter beater, except you'll probably notice it's in actually very nice condition. So anyway, let's take a closer look around this car and then we'll take it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. Okay, Richard, welcome back to the channel once again. I think it was only a few weeks ago that we released the video of the M2, so you guys can watch that car getting ceramic coated if you like. But today we're looking at something entirely different again.
We are.
So do you want to tell us a bit about why you bought this Polo GTI?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and thanks for having me back, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so this is the Polo GTI. I've only had it myself about 3 weeks. And the reason being is I had a few hairy moments with the M4 in the cold temperatures.
Yeah, so it's an F82 M4, right?
F82 M4
yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like this time of the year, you'd be surprised to hear.
Yeah.
So I managed to buy this relatively locally on eBay. It's a one-owner car up until February this year when a chap bought it to do like an engine swap or do something in terms of the power.
Right.
Stuck it in his garage until 3 weeks ago when I came in and bought the car off him.
Wow. Well, I must say it's in really good condition. I know you've been busy obviously doing what you do best, a bit of detailing here and there.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
paint looks fantastic, but
Yeah.
what's some of the other stuff you've been doing?
Yeah, so when I bought the car, within about 50 to 150 miles, the car had been serviced. So it had like the timing belt, the water pump, the auxiliary belt and everything done on it. It's also had like a full service and things like that. So when I've got it, I've literally just put a new set of brakes on it.
Yeah.
It's had a set of Bilstein B4 dampers, just original equipment dampers.
Yeah.
And a set of H&R springs. So yeah, it's just had some suspension work really done just to get it up to scratch really.
Yeah, it's really good. And what's the mileage on it? Was it about 75,000?
Yeah, it's 75,000 this one. So I suppose it's
low,
not too bad for a.
So this is 2007.
2007.
So it's getting on a bit. What's that? About probably 17 years old thereabouts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks really good. And how's it been to drive so far? Obviously, we'll find out in a bit more detail.
Yeah, it's been absolutely spot on. No issues whatsoever. It does have an engine light on it, which I keep knocking off with me OBD11. It keeps coming back on.
Right.
But it's not giving me a fault code for whatever reason,
right.
and it's not throwing up any issues on the car. So,
okay, so maybe hopefully nothing too serious then.
Hopefully.
Yeah. It looks really good. I'm a big fan of this whole concept, really, of getting into something interesting, right, for the winter period. You put away your nice stuff.
Yeah.
This was presumably a bit of a bargain. I paid
£3,950 for the car.
Which seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, and then by the time you've done the brakes and suspension and everything, you've maybe put another, say, 500 into it.
Yeah.
So I suppose what can you get that's interesting for £4,500?
Yeah.
And we had one of these when they were virtually new, which is the same colour. The only difference being the original one that had was like a leather interior, where this is the tartan.
Okay, which I think I was saying before, I really like the tartan cloth though. It's almost harking back to the old Golf GTIs, I guess. It's
absolutely.
A bit of Volkswagen heritage in there, which is always cool. So, okay, perfect. Well, it's absolutely freezing. Hopefully the audio survived that, but maybe we take it out on the road and see what it's like, right?
Absolutely,
okay,
let's give it a go.
Okay, so here we are, Richard, out on the road in some very, very grim weather in this Polo GTI. Absolutely. Initial impressions are really good. We're just getting the car back up to temperature, aren't we? But just kind of talking about, again, how it feels to drive. And I think it's funny getting into these old cars because, as I've said in many videos before, it's just so analog. Like, you can just feel everything. The clutch pedal feels really nice. I noticed that straight away. It's sort of got so much feedback through it, which is something you don't see that much actually in newer cars. You seem to have vaguer and vaguer clutch pedals, but Yeah, it rides really nicely actually. I know you've obviously done the springs and stuff.
It's got obviously the new springs and dampers and all the bearings and things on it. I'm still eking out a few of the issues with it, but yeah, I mean, one of the things I found with it is the gearbox feels really tight.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The clutch is really nice on it. We were just saying off camera that I've bled the brakes, and I'd like the brake pedal to have a little bit more feel to it.
There's quite a bit of travel there, isn't there?
Yeah.
For the bike.
Yeah.
Just feel that.
And I don't know whether it's just that's the car or whether or not it needs to be bled better.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be bled better, to be honest. But yeah, they're very analog.
Yeah, it's it.
Yeah.
It's just the control rates are actually really nice as well. I think it's almost a bit of a cliche that, but when you get in a car where everything's kind of weighted so that there's almost like a synergy between everything. You know, the clutch pedal feels like just perfect. As you said, the gearbox feels really tight. We said in the intro it's got about 75,000 miles on it, which I think that's pretty low. I imagine there's plenty that have way more than that, but
yeah,
it feels very, very good. And the interior, I mean, it's completely spotless as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's all standard. The whole car's bought and stock apart from obviously the H&R springs on it.
Yeah.
Interior-wise in here, there's nothing different. It's a completely standard car in terms of the spec. Although it's got, thankfully today, it's got the winter pack, so we've got...
Yeah, heated seats are working nicely.
Yeah, we've got heated seats, which was an option on them, which is great, to be honest.
This is it. I mean, although we're getting into something older for the winter, you don't necessarily need to compromise on the comforts.
No, and I think it's nice to get back into these front-wheel drive hot hatchbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can, you know, if you're going out for a spirited drive, you can really ring them out and enjoy them. Whereas, you know, some of the cars these days, by the time you've had your foot in the throttle for 3 or 4 seconds, you're already breaking the speed limit.
Exactly. We should probably touch on the performance, right? Because I think the engine in this, first of all, is quite interesting because it's 1.8 litre turbocharged, but it's 20 valves.
Yes.
So 5 valves per cylinder, which is unusual.
Yes.
I don't know of any other cars that have gone for 5 valves per cylinder, but I obviously know that Volkswagen used this engine across a number of different cars.
Yeah.
I was just looking it up. I think it was 3 on the inlet and 2 on the exhaust. So
I think that's right. Yeah. I think that's right. It's a very strange 20 valve turbo engine, and they came in a various different sort of power ratings. I think the 150 brake horsepower, which this car's got, was like nearer the bottom of the range.
Yeah.
Although I think they weigh about 1,100 kilos. These.
Yeah, I think it was like 1190, something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You feel like it's just it's there, it's ready to go. Like it's light, it's like proper hot hatch.
Yeah, and you can throw it about. But I think the previous owner, his plan was to put one of the Audi lumps in. Out of one of the Mark 1 TTs. I think that was his plan.
Okay.
But obviously he didn't get round to doing anything with it. So I think you can get anything up to about 240 horsepower as standard.
Yeah, I was looking on a basic remap. I think you can get sort of, you know, up to about 200, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can start to do a few additional mods to, you know, boost it a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, these engines, if anybody's interested in sort of like modifying them, you know, there's so many things out there, from inlet manifolds, exhaust systems, downpipes. You can get anything for these cars. And the previous one of these that I had back in 2007, I had one, and that had an APR Stage 1 map on it.
Okay, yeah.
And it really brings a car alive when you map them.
Yeah.
But I don't think I plan to do that with this, because you know, it is what it is.
It's a very original car, isn't it? It's almost like you don't really need to do much else. You've sort of gone a little bit OEM plus, you know, with your springs and dampers and stuff. But
it's just ironing out the little odds and ends. Like I say, it had a few scruffy bits on it when I bought it. Like, for example, there was a little bit of trim missing off the door where there'd been a new door module put on a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It needed a new aerial, the rear wiper arm and things like that. So I've just gone to VW and got those bits and pieces just to sort of, you know, tidy it up. But the plan was to get it just tidy in OEM And again, we were saying off camera, I was a little bit disappointed because I'd ordered some centre caps for it, and
yeah, people probably noticed that straight away.
they haven't landed, so it looks a bit scruffy from the outside.
Almost looks like a little track project with
Yeah.
the scruffy wheels on.
Yeah, I could have just said I was keeping the centre caps off to save the weight on it. Maybe.
Unsprung mass and all that, yeah.
Obviously, it'll be handling better for it.
Yeah, of course.
Be picking that
I
up
noticed
now.
a few grams missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the performance level's really good. It's about 150 foot-pounds, but peak torque I think comes in just under 2,000 RPM.
Yeah.
So once that turbo is spooled up, which happens pretty quickly as far as I can tell so far, you got peak torque. It just means it's so drivable, right? On a daily, you don't have to sort of wring it out too much.
Yeah, that's it. And they're really quite revvy, these engines as well. With them, I think probably with them being the 20 valve, the lighter weight valves, I would imagine. I think that's why they did it. I think they wanted to make the valves smaller so that they revved easier. I think that was the whole ethos behind it. I could be wrong. Just what I've read on forums.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't find tons of information on this engine, so I don't know if anyone watching does have more information. If you do, please do let us know in the comments. But it's certainly a bit of a unicorn, and going back to the mid 2000s with Volkswagen, this is the kind of stuff they did. They made these weird and wonderful engines. We had V12 diesels in the Q7, we had W16s and Bugatti Veyrons. So although this is kind of on the tamer end of that, it is something a bit unique, and I always like that. Everything these days is homogenous, isn't it? Everything's a 2-litre turbo just with a different map on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels really good. And the engine does feel really responsive. Just kind of getting a couple of rev matches in, and it revs up really quickly actually. So it feels good, and yeah.
I think this time of the year as well with these cars, they do hold the road really well with them being a front wheel drive. I think it's probably the time of the year when they come into their own, I would have said a little bit.
Yeah, I think just on that, I don't believe it has a limited slip diff, does it? But I think, is it electronically controlled? Is it doing something by braking?
I honestly don't know. I know the next generation of Polo, which was the 6R or the 6C, I think it was. This is the 9N3.
Yeah.
I think it was the 6C was the next one. I might be wrong, but that did have a electronically controlled limited slip diff, which was the same as on the Fabia VRS.
Yeah.
Which incidentally was an option looking at another Fabia or even the next generation of Polo.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple of Fabia VRSs with that particular engine in, and they're notorious for being, burning oil.
Yeah.
Quite a complex engine, so I didn't want to take the risk of getting another older car. I didn't know the background of it with that particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The whole point is, right, you need something a bit reliable.
Yeah.
Although this is obviously relatively cheap, it's still not a really, really dirt cheap car.
Yeah.
But you want something to be reliable. You want to be able to actually use it over the winter.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I say, it's one thing buying a cheap car or a car that's less expensive.
Yeah.
But you certainly don't want to be, putting engines and gearboxes in it because it's failed.
Exactly. It's just a different kettle of fish once you start doing that. But there's some slightly twistier stuff here. The handling feels really good. And we were obviously having a bit of a joke about the tyres. I think the previous owners maybe saved a bit of money on the tyres, but they don't feel too bad.
We've got a set of premium ditch finders on, haven't we? which is good. I mean, the front tyres were brand new when the car had all the work done for the previous owner. I mean, it was a really comprehensive list. It was like the full service. They even put a set of new number plates front and back, and new wiper blades front and back. They did put a pair of front tyres on, and they're Evergreens.
Ah, yes, that reputable brand. I haven't heard of Evergreen before.
Yeah, and the rear tyres, although they look brand new, they're not a matching set on the rear axles. I think the plan will be to put a set of Pilot Sport 3s on the rear, and then maybe run the Evergreens off on the front.
Just give it a bit more confidence, won't it? Especially when it's wet. I mean, these do feel fine, to be honest.
They're not bad, are they? Actually,
it's doing all right.
Yeah.
Just feel a little bit of slip here and there, but yeah, no, it's great. So I think the 0 to 60 on this is something around 8.2 seconds, which it's one of those things we were kind of saying before, like you can really extract the performance in a car like this.
Yeah.
You can actually be flat out, probably through what, gears 1 to 3 at least.
Yes.
And still be within the speed limit, which is always nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Top speed, I think, was around 136 miles an hour, something like that. So again, it's fun, isn't it? It's not an absolute rocket ship.
No.
If you want more power, remap it, but for your little daily, this is just absolutely perfect.
Well, that's it. It's enough, isn't it? And
yeah.
I think, you know, to be honest, why even get something with this sort of power for winter? I mean, I could have saved, you know, a few £1,000s and just got a standard 9N on a 1.4 engine, for example. But you like to have something a little bit different, a little bit, you know, a little bit of something about it, especially when you like your cars. But
I think it's almost a bit rare. I don't know the last time I really saw kind of this era of Polo GTI, to be honest. It was quite some time ago.
Yeah, well, they didn't do a GTI in the 9N2, I think, which was the previous, where they had those twin round lights on the front.
Yeah.
Obviously the same basic car.
Yeah.
This was the facelift version, and that's when they brought the GTI in. But I think even back in the day, it was kind of very much overshadowed by the Golf.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's always been the Polo's kind of nemesis, hasn't it? It's been its own stablemate, really. The Golf's always been the car that people wanted to go for.
I think they are almost quite similar in a lot of ways, aren't they? They're both small hatchbacks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and
you can't make them too dissimilar.
That's it. And the thing is, when you look at this and you look at a Golf Mark 5 GTI, even like the side skirts and everything look the same. They've got the same styling and the same details on them. It's literally just like a
it's like a shrunken down version of it.
A shrunk down version of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, it's one of those cars you're not too worried about pushing it a little bit in the wet. You can rely on the front end and the power level. Yeah, everything just works nicely. I mean, that's third gear. It's not slow, is it?
No, it's certainly from the passenger seat. It feels, you know,
it's fine.
It feels quite lively.
We do love a hot hatch. This is exactly the type of thing they're great for. It's just being able to kind of chug them around a little bit on a country road. We're on some nice roads here in the northeast, and you can just have a bit of fun with it and enjoy it. That's the way you should do winter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And I mean, I grew up on Volkswagen GTIs. Well, to be fair, I used to, when I first passed my test, I was on Citroens, AX GTs, and Saxo VDSs and things like that. And when you kind of realise that you want something that's a bit higher quality, a bit better build quality, you know, then I moved on to Volkswagens, and you kind of experience them back in the day, and it's nice to get back in one after all this sort of time.
100%, and I think it's really stood the test of time well. It's a testament really to the Volkswagen build quality, because there's barely any rattles in here, to be honest. There's just one tiny thing which I'm saying there's maybe a bit of trim or something down there.
Down here, I think. In this,
but God, it feels really good, and it doesn't even feel that old in here. 17-year-old car. Like everything looks almost brand new. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can't find my Apple CarPlay though.
Might have to change out this centre section for that. That's the thing. There are mods that would enable you to do that. Yeah,
I mean it's a double DIN head unit as well. So I suppose you can either put like a Volkswagen. I think it's an RNS 510, which is the one you would get in like the Mark 6 Golf, or the Scirocco. That would fit in, which would give you like your Bluetooth and your sat nav. But I think you'd also get like your aftermarket head units that have got like your Apple CarPlay. But I only just actually found out this morning when I was giving it a quick hoover before I brought it up to see you, it does actually have a 6-disc changer underneath the seat there.
So many little quirky things. The 6-disc changes, that is a bit of a throwback.
I don't know if it works.
Got to get some CDs first.
Yeah, I'll have to report back.
It's cool though. This is what, you know, it's very off the time. I often use that phrase, but it's kind of cool getting back into these cars and seeing actually just how different stuff was, you know, only 15 years ago.
I think nowadays you know, if you try to sell a car like this now, I don't know how many people would take it. You know, how many they would sell, because I think generally speaking, like, just my personal opinion, but I think people are more interested. Oh, sorry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right, huh?
I think more people are interested in the sort of technology and like,
Yeah, that's it.
you know.
And maybe that's the way that car companies are going to go / are going.
Yeah,
Technology companies rather than car companies, which is a massive shame.
yeah,
Because you will never see these sort of really analog experiences, like driving experiences anymore. And that's what's fun. You just immediately feel so connected. I mean, this is like genuinely my first driving experience of this car. We hadn't done anything before.
No.
We'd literally just gone out and filmed it, which, so yeah, it just, you really get a sense of how fun these cars can be to drive, really.
I think it kind of, buying this car's kind of sort of confirmed what I like about Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Because the car previous to the M4, I bought a Mark 8 Golf R.
Yeah.
And that car was, in the 3 months I had it, and normally I'll keep a car 3 to 4 years, I had that car 3 months and I just did not like the car.
Yeah.
Because of what everybody's saying in regards to, you can't just reach down and turn the heating up or down.
It's in a screen.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's buried within sort of screens, you know. And that car was wholly unreliable.
Yeah.
All sorts of problems with it, which you wouldn't expect from a new car.
They're a lot of money. A Mark 8 Golf R is a lot of money.
Well, yeah, and now they are, you know, the north of, well, way north of 40,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't buy a Golf R now without having a luxury car tax attached to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the other thing as well. Actually, on that, I think, unfortunately, this seems to fall into a relatively high bracket, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
What's this, 385, something like that?
385, yeah.
Which is it's scandalous, really, if you think about, like, you know, what's this, a 17-year-old car, still on the road, so it was made 17 plus years ago. The emissions from that production are way in the past, but you're potentially getting penalised more by the government for using it. It's such a shame, and I think that will put people off buying cars like this. It's just the tax, and that's not even as bad as it gets, is it?
No.
Some things are getting £600-700 a year.
That's
crazy.
it. I mean, if you look at something like, I think they got really bad after 2006.
Yeah.
Between 2006 and 2017, I think is when you see the real, you know, really getting penalised.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to buy an R32, for example.
Yeah, I imagine that's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're in the 700s for one.
It is such a shame.
It is. You know, it's.
What about the other running costs? I guess, how have you found like fuel economy? Because I think these are meant to be relatively decent on fuel.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I always use Tesco Momentum for the cars because I think they run better on them, and you get a few more miles per gallon out of them. I tend
so
to
the 99 run.
But it's getting in the region of about 40 to the gallon.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty good. You know, and the insurance for me, I mean, I'm getting on at 48-year-old and, you know, been driving since 17 with full no claims, but I mean, this is £150 fully covered.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
For the year.
It's pretty much as cheap as it gets, though. You can't really get insurance for less than that.
No, so I've kind of forgiven it a little bit about with the tax.
Yeah, because all in all, I guess it's not terrible.
That's it. I mean, I compared it to the M4. So the M4 is £190 for the tax.
Yeah, which is quite funny.
Yeah,
just looking at the
difference. Yeah. But it was £700 to insure it, and that, you know, so I suppose
this is still cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper to run, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think this is a fantastic find. I mean, you know, props to you for actually finding a car in this good condition, because I don't imagine a lot of them would be, you know, as well kept as this. So yeah, I mean, it's a really, really nice example. Yeah,
I think I've just hit lucky, but I think, like you've said on a few of your videos in the past, you know, there are some of these example cars out there, and if you do, you know, you do get lucky, and you know, you do put the time in to look for them, they are out there, and you will find them.
Yeah, 100%.
It's interesting though, because I did originally want to get a Mark 5 Golf GTI.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's an abundance of them on Auto Trader and eBay.
Seen quite a few of those around. Yeah.
But again, they're all high mileage, and they seem to be high owners.
Yeah.
And they also suffer from corrosion a lot more than these.
That's interesting.
You know, you've got the when you've got like your Mark 4 Golfs, your Mark 5 Golfs, your Passats of the era.
Yeah.
They've got an anti-vibration pad that sits between the inner and the outer arch.
Yeah.
And they rot the arches out.
Yes.
which isn't great.
No, it's a slightly poor design,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that these things do happen with some cars where, you know, what's a relatively small design flaw, if you like, can result in corrosion. And corrosion is expensive to fix, and you don't want to have to deal with that.
That's
So
it.
it is going to put people off. Completely understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love this. I love the size of it. I love the rarity. You know, you don't see many of these cars around at all, as we were saying. So I think it's just a really cool little car to have for winter.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like I say, it's only a few weeks in, but it's one of those things. It's nice to have a project car to sort of work on.
Yeah,
you know.
just do little bits and pieces on, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's been interesting, and then obviously just having a completely different drive.
Yeah,
is interesting as well.
that's great. Just feel that second gear power. Perfect, isn't it? Really.
It's enough on these roads as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't really like. We were talking about the diff. I'm not really feeling the need for a diff, to be honest. Like with the power level, it feels fine. It can handle it really well.
It puts it down. I suppose if you were to put some Michelins on it,
Yeah, it would be hooking up really well.
it would improve it. Yeah, I'm sure you get a limited diff for these as well.
Yeah,
for like
yeah,
a
the
wave.
Quaife one.
Yeah, yeah. But it's probably not that needed, to be honest.
Yeah.
I suppose the other thing that's interesting with this car as well is the gearbox is only 5-speed.
Yes, and it's nice because the ratios seem quite close together.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we go to the second gear, here we go. Let's see. It looks quite nice there. This is an uphill. It's right in the power band into third.
It's quite well matched actually.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You don't find that you do a lot of gear changing through the towns
No.
either. If you want to
just cruise around in
Yeah.
like a higher gear. Yeah.
it's quite a lazy car to drive if you want a manual but you
Yeah.
don't be changing gear all the time. It's quite easy to drive.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, no, I really enjoyed it. So thanks very much for bringing the car down. It's been great to sort of experience an older little hot hatch. We obviously love our older stuff here on the channel. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And I guess, how long do you plan to keep the car for? What are the plans going forward?
I've got no plans to sell it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think now I've found a good car for winter. I think once the good weather comes and I'll get my normal car back out, then I think I'll probably just mothball this for the following winter and use it again, I suppose.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. And a car like this, you're not going to lose money on it. It's depreciated. If anything, it might be maybe creeping up. I don't know what the demand's like for these, but
I think I got lucky with this one, to be honest, because like I say, I paid £3,950 for it.
Yeah.
And probably put about £500 into it.
Yeah.
But you see them for around about the £5,000 mark, and that's the sort of cars that have got like 100,000 miles on them. So I think that there you go. Your depreciation's probably not going to be a factor so much on it.
Yeah.
I suppose if I was to sell it and ask £5,000, I think if somebody's looking for a car and what can you get for £5,000?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really good. So yeah, well, wish you all the best with it. It'll be great to see how you get on and if there's anything else you do. But yeah, thanks very much for bringing the car down. We'll catch you very soon in the next video.
Yeah.
All right, thanks Richard.
Thanks, Ollie.